The following is a presentation of the St. Louis Chess Club.
Hello everybody and welcome to day 5 of the 2022 Fall Chess Classic. We've had a lot of exciting action so far. And we're going to be getting right back into it. My name is Jonathan Schrantz, and I'm happy to be joined here with Grandmaster Miro.
Yeah, well, happy to be here, Jonathan. And yeah, well, it's a little bit ahead of the schedule, but just to mention that we not only watch the chat, but interact with the chat.
Absolutely.
Someone said, cool animations. We actually are not animated. We are physically present in the studio, just to let you know.
Absolutely. And some people would be taking a rest right now, but not us. Sunday, it's a day of rest for some, but this tournament has no rest days, and we're going to be here covering all the action for you live. And let's actually go ahead and see how everybody's been doing, starting with our standings for the A group. Now in the A group, we do have a sole leader, and it is Vidit. He is sitting there on 3 points all by himself. Right underneath him, we have Illia Nyzhnyk, Grigoriy Oparin, and Van Nguyen, a half point behind with 2.5 total. Then after that, Yangyi and Hans Niemann are sitting on 2 points. Below that, we got Nijat Abasov, Aram Hakobyan, Surya Ganguly, and Nikolas Theodorou. Miro, could you please let us know what is going on in Group B?
Well, Group B, Raunak Sadhwani was held for a draw yesterday, but still in the lead. And yeah, I think the top has not changed much, right? So all three, oh well, now I'm paying attention. Round 4, all draws it turns out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
When we left, every single game was going on. Every single game was a draw, so the standings are pretty much as you would expect.
Nothing has changed. So it's Raunak Sadhwani, then tied for the second. These are Christopher Yu and Alex Lenderman, both representing US. Denis Kadric on clear 4th position. Well, something has changed for sure. Arman Mikaelyan finally was able to put at least something on the board. Yeah.
So everyone is on the board now, and let's get to know our tournament, starting with the tournament formats. Now this is 2 10-player round robins. We got the A group and the B group. There is 90 minutes for the first 40 moves. At move 40, you receive an additional 30 minutes for the rest of the game, and all throughout the tournament, you get a 30-second increment. Now, Miro, if you could just let us know, what is the schedule of events for the rest of this event?
Yeah, well, let's update on the schedule. No major updates here, so starting from 5th and all the way to the next round, everything starts 1 p.m. as the previous rounds have started, except for November 10th, when we do start a couple of hours earlier. Players start a couple of hours earlier. Our show will start a couple of hours earlier because of possible playoffs. So if those will be necessary,
and just to remind everybody, we are starting our 90-minute show 3 hours after the start time that you see there. So when it says 1 p.m., the show actually starts 4 p.m. Central Time. So keep that in mind if you're looking to catch the show. With all of that out of the way, I just would like to say thank you guys for being here and watching every single day. It's been a lot of fun. We're live on Twitch. We're live on YouTube. We're reading all of the chat that you guys are sending in. And if you guys do want to follow us on social media, please make sure to use the hashtag FallChessClassic. You can also catch all of the games live on uschesschamps.org. And also, just a little bit of a reminder that your money is going to a very good place. Any money that we do receive via YouTube or via Twitch, it is all going to support the Scholastic initiative that we have here at the St. Louis Chess Club. So for every $75 that we raise, whether it's through YouTube ad revenue or whether it's through bits, subscriptions, donations, anything that goes on Twitch, it's all going to give kids a school program. So every $75 is one entire program, an entire semester for a kid that might otherwise not be able to receive it. With all of that being said, I also want to take a look now at our pairings for today, starting with the A group. Now in the A group, Nikolas Theodorou is going up against Grigoriy Oparin, Aram Hakobyan is going up against Surya Ganguly, Yangyi is playing against Illia Nyzhnyk, Van Nguyen is playing Vidit, and our matchup of the day is Nijat Abasov going up against Hans Niemann, who is still sitting, Miro, on 4 draws overall.
Yeah, so someone's gonna break the streak today, because Nijat has, well, a short but very unpleasant streak of 2 losses in a row, while Hans is on 4 draws out of 4 rounds.
That's
It doesn't matter how those two will play today. Someone's going to be, okay.
Absolutely.
Someone's streak's going to finish.
Let's see whose streak is going to break today.
Yeah.
Nijat Abasov, of course, had started the tournament very strong, winning in like 21 moves. It was, one of these like opening disasters for his opponent. Got off to a very early lead, but the last 2 rounds have not treated him very well. What is happening in this game that we got today?
So that's a current position where It's Abasov, yeah, it's white to move after Hans just played knight c4 to e5, and we could probably check what the opening was. But once again, we are turning in after 3 hours.
Sure.
Everything's very culture heavy. Everything's equal, you know, symmetrical pawn structure.
Sure.
Well, yeah, we are talking like minimal ages, like +0, 2, -0.
Is there
2
anything to be
constant
said
game.
for having 2 bishops, or is it?
Yeah,
is
perhaps,
this worth talking about?
Yeah, but you'd expect once again something really wild, or
Sure.
I would expect no such thing.
All right. Well, how did all this happen?
Yeah, so it was with some moves transposition. It happened to be a Catalan with bishop b4 check and back to e7. So
Okay.
this loss of tempo, quote unquote loss of tempo, is very popular. I think for like 15 years already. Like someone figured out that you can actually play a check, return back, and pretend that you are a beginner. So you've lost the tempo. Well, there is a certain point to it once again. So very often white would play b3, bishop b2, and it's hard to play bishop b2 when your bishop is on d2, right? So queen to c2, c6, rook c1, and that's one of the attempts to kind of prove that bishop d2 is worth something. Because very often white would just neglect the fact that he's tempo up, go bishop d2 to f4, and then we have the same position just with one more move played, right?
Miro, if you'd allow it. So in round 1, we also saw somebody playing the Catalan against Hans. That resulted in a draw.
Yeah.
Do you think this, I mean, it might just be a coincidence. Maybe 2 people play the Catalan. That could obviously be true. But do you think people are trying to, like, specifically test his Catalan skills as black? Have they targeted this as a weakness or something?
No, not really. I mean, it's not, it's not a lot of choices you have against what Hans plays, right? So knight f6, e6, and if I'm allowed to go back and to speculate a little,
yeah.
kind of, right? So d4, knight f6, c4, e6. Yeah, if you start the game with these two now, against d5, you pretty much have 2 serious options. It's Queen's Gambit or the Catalan, right? And here, in order to play the real Queen's Gambit, right? You want to go knight c3, d5, and this can be something, right? With knight still being on g1 and potential knight g2, those systems, right?
We've seen Hans playing the Nimzo, so maybe that's what people are avoiding.
Exactly, and there was one game against one Norwegian, Magnus Carlsen, when
I've heard of
Nimzo
him.
has happened and went very well for Hans. So I'm not saying that he kind of refuted move 3, knight c3, right? But
maybe that's what people are trying to avoid.
Yeah, people kind of don't have interest in playing this. And you can still, of course, go knight c3 or even like delay the knight's development, go to g5, but that's, well, that's known as relatively harmless, Queen's Gambit, so therefore perhaps g3. And okay, anyway, Catalan's quite popular, not sure about this specific line, a5, yeah, just checking. Yeah, I wanted to say it's a bit of a sideline, but it was played by no one else but Magnus Carlsen himself. He made the
can't be
draw
so bad.
against Daniel Dubov. So e2, e3, and that's, yeah, okay. Now we no longer have Carlsen's game, but we have Giri, who played it in December last year. So e3 was still happened, b5. All that happened in a game between Giri and Volokitin, where Giri played something else. So a3, sort of an independent move. A4, basically what happens here, so white tries to claim control over the c file with somewhat better, perhaps somewhat more harmonious development, but potentially if black ever gets the knight on c4, which he will in our game, the black is more than fine. So knight to d6, bishop to a6, a bit awkward, but you need to protect the b5 pawn, and then the knight's going to go to c, bishop d3, g6, h4, okay, that's something, knight c4, queen e2, rook c8, knight a2, that's a funny move, yeah.
Yep.
Knight a2 to b4, right? Black goes knight b8, e4, okay, knight back to d7, knight b4, queen b6. And this is how white got a pair of bishops. But still, the knight on c4 is quite nice, and yeah, later on black was able to play e5, and then perhaps d5, knight c5 doesn't look all that attractive. Who knows, maybe black will be, you know, will be even better one day. Or knight to d6 back is not that great because rook c6, yeah, but knight c5 perhaps. Yeah, so white decided to simply trade on a5, and this...
Okay, now we got a completely symmetrical pawn structure.
Yeah, it can be something, but it cannot be too much for white.
Sure.
That's what I would say. Queen f6, and the queens were traded, and white went bishop c3. Here, to be perfectly honest, I thought bishop c3, rook takes c3, rook e2 should be enough for a draw, because, yeah, the
Sure,
b2 pawn's hanging, and you probably end up being down a pawn in the rook endgame. Captures on b2, white takes, but that's not a hard rook endgame to make a draw in. I think you're even allowed to go h5 here, just not to care about the space on the king side.
Sure.
Because with rook behind, it's kind of an easy draw, so white can try to do something like rook f4 and a4 with rook on the side, but still, it's like it's theoretical. For this kind of players, it shouldn't be a problem.
Sure.
But yeah, white to play a position pawn down if you can play the position with even number of pawns. That's what Hans decided. He went knight e5. White has played bishop a5.
All right.
So this way, he tries to exchange a pair of rooks, maybe invade on the 7th rank. Yeah, it could be something. In the long run, yeah, it could be something.
Okay, so not a whole lot, but we need to see what is happening here. If anything, a very small advantage for white. And just to catch everybody up too, we also have a B group. So let's go ahead and take a look at our games today in the B group.
Yeah, let's find out. So Akshat Chandra against Arman Mikaelyan, Denis Kadric with Christopher Yu, and yeah, as I keep saying, I'm looking forward to those Christopher interviews, but he has to win for that, right? Alex Lenderman faces Tigran Harutyunyan, Gergely Kantor goes against Brendan Jacobson, and Raunak Sadhwani and Cristian Chirila are playing, or should I say, already...
Well, I hope that they're not playing, because I have been seeing Cristian Chirila in the chat, so shout out to our competitor and fellow commentator, Cristian. His game has already concluded for the day. It did result in a draw, so maybe we can check this one out first and see exactly what happened today.
Yeah, okay, so that's once again another confirmation that all rook endgames are draws. That's the one that we had as the final position. So here... e4, e5, knight f3, knight f6. So that was the Petrov that Cristian has played. And yeah, it's hard to go wrong with the Petrov. And white actually did try to play something a bit more complex, because one of the moves is just to take on d7, and then it's for a very long time. It's quite a symmetrical line.
Sure,
so white at least goes knight c3. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, it was quite popular on high level. Knight e5, knight c3, so you get this kind of structure. So white has the majority on the king side, and yeah, kind of somewhat more space, but his pawns are doubled on the queen side. Once again, Magnus Carlsen is on the list of players who played it with the white pieces.
Can't be too bad.
So you'd expect, yeah, this one to be a serious line. Bishop c5, queen to h5, kind of stopping black from castling, at least for now. Bishop e6, rook to b1, so basically white wants to cause some, some weaknesses, like b6. Okay, you give me an option to give a check on b5, right? Bishop b6, well, maybe bishop a3 will become a thing one day. Anyway, black chose to ignore it, just goes queen d7, and perhaps if you capture, then black goes bishop b6 and traps the rook. Yeah, traps the rook later on. So the pawn wasn't captured, bishop g5, bishop to f5, and black ignores the threat for quite a while. Queen f3, trade on d3, c takes, castles d4, where black, so black goes f6.
All right, some action.
Yeah, so in fact, this one, considered by the weak engine that we have here to be better for white, would white castle short simply. And after d4, he perhaps was expecting like the bishop move and castle, and f6 happens to be a clever move. E takes, then it was a check, king d2, because king f1 kind of breaks the connection between the rooks. And that's the lovely move, which allows you to win the pawn back and also kind of keep the integrity of the structure. Because gf6 is still awkward, even though the material is equal.
This looks really scary for white. I mean, if you're losing a pawn and your king's on d2.
Rook he1, bishop f6. So trades, and yeah, it does give the computer tends to like black just a tiny bit more. queen e3, rook a6, and then he went to
Trading these queens.
Yeah, to trade the stuff. We went rook c8, so he ends up, I wanted to say pawn down, not really. Okay, black has the passed pawn, but that's about it. Yeah.
Interesting. All right, so there was a little bit of action there. It got exciting for just a moment, but it all worked itself out to a draw in the end. So
yeah.
Very good. Let's go ahead and just kind of take a look around the horn. Is there anything else?
Let's go back to the A group because we do have a result there
wonderful.
as well.
Let's see what we got.
Yes, one result for now. Van Nguyen and Vidit Gujrathi finished the game in a draw.
All right.
So that's the final position with opposite colored bishops and stuff. And I presume, and yeah, that's correct. That's what I've called yesterday the Wesley Saw line. E4 captures, takes,
we've seen this now
yeah.
2 or 3 times now in this
So
event.
it was played in the B group in Mikaelyan's game, right? I guess. So bishop to e6 captures, bishop g5, knight to c6, bishop c4, king e7. So yesterday white castled long first, and then went bishop c4, to which black replied with knight e5. Now you kind of have to guard it. Knight e4, king f7. Bishop f6, g f6. All right, and you get this kind of position with opposite colored bishops, white being more active, but perhaps not that scary for black. Well,
I don't know. It looks a little
yeah,
scary.
well, it is a pawn. Yeah, it is a pawn, but apparently everything's... Yeah, computer is not impressed.
I get it, but when you're sitting there, I mean, if you know it, I guess it's not scary, but...
Yeah, and why white doesn't even attempt to play something like f3, who knows. Anyway, so he goes rook c7, bishop.
And this might even still be theory.
Takes, rook c6,
this
yeah,
far
it
in.
might as well be. Yeah, rook e8, king d2, rook e7, and they've just basically agreed to draw as soon as they've reached move 30.
Sure. All right.
So that was it.
So yeah, I mean, both sides, I guess, showing kind of a lot of understanding, though, of the position. That has to be said as well. So that takes care of all of the games that have actually finished. What do we still have going on?
Chat was screaming and asking for Illia's game.
Oh, right. So a lot of
Yangyi
Illia
against
fans,
Illia
which makes
Nyzhnyk.
sense.
Let's see what goes on here. Well, I can see equal material for now at least.
And Illia, just to remind everybody, is somebody that you can find regularly playing the people here on our streams. So if you would like to see him play, make sure you're following us on Twitch.
All right, so that's another Petrov we are talking about, but this time
very normal main line.
Yeah, it's kind of main line, and moreover, the one that happened in the match between Carson and Nepo, I believe that was, yeah, like a very long, sharp line that we are about to see. Queen b3 and queen to d7, c5, bishop c7, knight, now g3, and now we've lost Carson. Yeah, where was? So that's the deviation, I believe. Queen c7 still, and c5 is a different move. So I think Carson was kind of capturing on d5 or going knight c3. I don't quite remember. Maybe takes and yeah. Anyway, so c5, bishop to c7. You do not win the pawn by taking on b7 because bishop h2.
Very nice.
Yeah, but our players are
so
very
G3 prevents that.
Well, in fact,
And
kind of
maybe it threatens
attacks
the
the
pawn?
pawn. Yeah. Queen c8, knight c3, knight takes, trades on f5, knight h4 with the tempo, queen back to c8, b c3.
Okay.
Knight a6, bishop g5. So this is where we stand. Rook to e7.
Okay.
Queen f5. Yeah, and
they always find the way to trade those queens off. They're
Yeah,
so good at trading the queens.
that's what I wanted to mention. That the A group players somehow they are very good at finding the way to trade the pieces. Rook a8. What's rook a8? Wow.
That is a bit of a mysterious
That's
one.
deep. That's deep. I mean, the knight kind of got stuck, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So
I was imagining the knight maybe has to go to
I
c7, but instead he's trying to go back there.
Yeah, but then
But your b pawn's always a target. Maybe not.
That's
I don't know.
yeah. That's
Maybe
kind
you
of
have b6
strange.
always or something to save
Rook
your
b1,
pawn.
b6. That's exactly what happened. Yeah, rook b1, b6. But yeah, but the knight is. Yeah, exactly. So Twitch chat has it. I wanted to tell that rook a8, and especially if he's allowed to play knight b8, let's say
Yeah.
our good old coach would say, I mean, yeah, you do not play like this unless you're preparing for the next game.
Yeah, just setting up the
basically,
pieces
yeah, you're
politely
setting
for
up the
next
pieces,
game.
you've resigned this one. Yeah. Okay, so knight e7,
This
attack
almost
c6.
forces the knight to go back.
It
It's gonna
actually,
make him set up for the next game.
yeah. But then how do you get rid of this knight then, right? Knight b.
Is that what was played? Or
No. Yeah, but other than that, how do you
you can
guard
take
it?
on c5, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess that would
but
be
then
the
pawn
alternative.
takes,
Yeah,
and
I don't like it,
strangely, these are the double pawns, notoriously weak. They are supposed to be, but how do you attack them? And actually, this trade allows white to have rook b7, allows white potentially to have bishop d4, unless some silly tactic like rook b8, and then it's really hard to say what's going on. Because even in this endgame, I mean, the endgame if white trades, he probably shouldn't.
Sure, yeah, you can move the rook somewhere.
Can move the rook somewhere. One of these somewheres could be b3,
Sure.
in fact, right?
Sure.
Like rook b3, you want to trade, okay.
I guess whenever you get a position, though, with the knight on b8, you want that rook stuck in the corner.
Yeah, but yeah, you can imagine, Jenna, that it's not fun to play, right? I mean, still some knight c8 and white coming at you from every single angle. Yeah, knight c8 is actually a funny move, because if you go, say, a6, knight on e7 could have been bothered with bishop. Sure. But what if I put it on a7? It's kind of does sort of nothing, but it targets the c6 pawn. It cannot be easily evicted from a7.
Yeah, a lot of weird.
So something like this, yeah. So the feeling is that black is in trouble. I don't know how much in trouble he is. It's move what? Move 26 for Illia to play, and he is under pressure for sure. I mean, once again, I'm not sure what's the real evaluation of this, but it looks like white is getting somewhere. Do we actually have any positions with queens on the board, please?
Well, let's have a look around and see what else is going on.
Hakobyan with Ganguly. Okay, so this is serious. This is serious. All right, so a lot of stuff. Last move being queen. Oh wow. You know what? When I've seen this position, I almost got excited because I thought, white is getting to h6. He was never planning to. I mean, he actually ran exactly in the opposite direction.
You didn't think we could find it? We found it.
Oh, okay. So here we are talking the Ruy Lopez.
All right.
Spanish.
Haven't had a lot of Ruy Lopez's for
mostly Italian. Yeah, that's interesting. That mostly people play bishop c4 nowadays over bishop b5. So bishop to c5, c3, d6, and that's I'm always confusing the names of this one. So it's not the Arkhangelsk. It's the Tkachov variation, Yurtayev something. Yeah.
Chat will hook us up. They'll let us know.
Yeah, chat has a few names for this line, I'm sure. Bishop to g4, d takes, queen e2, knight a5. That's sort of a bit of a more quiet attempt, I want to say, because white could have done something sharper. Anyway, bishop f3, knight c4. Possibly I've seen this one. Queen to e2. Okay. a4. So nobody cares about the b2 pawn, because perhaps this knight kind of getting stuck there, right? Yeah, the knight's getting stuck here. So black just goes c6, b3, now back to b6. And then the knight is somewhat misplaced, restricted. It was white pawns, yes. So maybe white hopes to get some sort of an advantage. On the other hand, the bishop on c2 is not impressive as well.
It's fairly typical, though, I guess, for the Ruy Lopez player. Do Ruy Lopez players mind this bishop?
No, not at all. And interestingly, like, the feeling is like it's always a stupid piece, which you preserve from being exchanged with like 5 moves. So you have a, b5, a4, b3, sometimes only then c2. But whenever it comes to live, white's winning. Right? I mean, that's the feeling.
You know what's unfair? You know, they talk about the French bishop, and everybody, you know, really rags on it. What about the Ruy Lopez bishop? It's a triumph.
Absolutely.
People love it.
Yeah, okay, so ba4, ba4, rook f to b8. So black gets the open file for himself, the b file. Queen to g5, rook a7, because white had some nasty threats of capturing on d7. Knight would be pinned, right? So that's why rook a7, knight h4 once again.
Big
Another,
threat.
yeah, using pins and double attacks. Basically, that's what chess tactics is.
Today's
about.
Sunday, so I know you were teaching kids today. You might have taught a couple of these
absolutely.
moves.
So king goes to f8, rook d6, rook to b2. And to my surprise, yeah, queen c1 happens. Yeah, but maybe you don't have all that many other options. If your, let's say, direct approach of, say, going here doesn't really work, then you can't really move the bishop. You have to protect it, yeah. Queen to c1, at least a move with the tempo.
Well, what's the issue with bishop d3?
The rook on d6, right? So rooks are...
Yes.
Yeah, they kind of lose the connection. And also like bishop b1. It's not that attractive on many kind of... on many levels, but first and foremost, yeah, like rook takes b1, or even perhaps even flashier would be to take on d6.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's why safe and sound. Queen c1, cover the back rank, protect the bishop, attack the rook, and also c6 is hanging. Might be that white's getting somewhere. Okay, that's one of those positions where it optically looks very good for white, but if you don't mind, I'll press this little button.
Oh gosh, she's gonna cheat.
Yeah. I would expect it to be better, more better for white. I mean, more advantage the computer actually shows. It's some 0.2, 0.3.
Right, 0.2,
something like
very small
minor, yeah.
For white. All right. And what move are they on? Because again, they don't get time until move 40.
Move 27.
So
yeah,
still quite a lot.
Ganguly is somewhat short on time with, well, he had, for some reason, the time display. Okay, it's back. 8 minutes for Ganguly, 24 for now for Hakobyan. And yeah, let's go back to Hans Niemann.
Yeah, I can see we got a couple of requests in the chat. We can hop back here.
Looks like, I wanted to say they've simplified, but they've taken it even further.
Further than simplification, let's see it.
Yeah, they're repeating moves.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's perhaps, wait a second. I wanted to say I know what's the reason for them repeating moves. That's the reason, right? Takes here, takes here, takes here, takes here. And I've calculated all the way to rook a4 and thought white's pawn up, but then rook a8 happens. That's a pin, and who knows? I mean, maybe white's already in trouble. So it's better. White's better off not to capture on a4, and therefore, perhaps the whole idea of exchanging on c4 is.
So are we just at risk here that they might?
Yeah, they might
just repeat right here. This
they
could
might,
be
yeah.
very near to the end of this
So
game.
let me try to calculate it, kind of count it carefully. Bishop c3, knight e5. That's the first time this position is on the board.
Okay.
Or rather, after bishop c3, that's the first time this position on the board.
There's one.
Knight e5, bishop a5, knight c4, bishop c3. So that's two. Knight e5, bishop a5, knight c4. So white can play bishop c3, or rather write down bishop c3 and claim a draw.
Yes, absolutely.
If he wants.
That is the correct way to do it. You write your move down, you find the arbiter. You pause your clock, you find the arbiter, and you would make the claim. So possibly we are looking at a draw here. And I know the Illia Nyzhnyk game was also very near to its conclusion. I think Illia was a little bit worse, but possibly able to hold on to that one. Let's see if anything has happened.
No, that one is still... that's the one with the silly knight on b8, right? Nyzhnyk's game. I'm not sure if it's like it doesn't look to me like white's. I mean, maybe it's just a bad position. I don't know. Maybe computer just says, okay, white's winning.
I just believe the man in my ear, and then he makes me look silly.
Let me see. Oh well. Now that I've cheated a little.
Oh, it's fine. Oh,
it's +2.
Oh, that's kind of not a draw.
Probably means. So
Ilya is actually in serious trouble.
Yeah, he is in a serious trouble. No, I actually thought that there should be the way for black to kind of crawl out of this corner, but if the evaluation is +2, and I also picked at the lines a little bit, so black's next moves are like g6, king g7, so basically
just chilling out, restricting knight, maybe walking over to the knight.
So that, maybe to get to this knight, but even like when you attack it with the king, white can probably take the pawn on h6 or something. Okay. So that usually means bad news. If computer says that your position is bad, And at the same time, its suggestion is to wait for the position to get worse.
Yes,
so that usually means that you're in trouble.
All right, so definitely not looking good for Illia Nyzhnyk.
Yeah, and we have one last game, which is Theodorou against Oparin. And here, okay, so that's, well, I want to say it looks pretty good for Oparin, but once again, it's yeah, perhaps some, one has to calculate some lines here. Because on material count, it's 2 bishops and 2 pawns against knight and the rook.
All right.
So black is exchanged down for 2 pawns, but 2 powerful bishops.
Very powerful.
And I believe,
the bishops, they look good.
Yes,
when I first see it.
And here and there, yes. In fact, that's what white has to do. I mean, somehow to act swiftly, to try to maybe come up with some threats, at least trade a pair of rooks. Because let's say if something like this works for black, I wouldn't be surprised if white is just lost, because well, you don't even have this check. I mean, I was thinking I'm clever, rook c8, king h7, rook h8, king g6, no check. But rook c8, there is a better move, bishop takes c8. Yeah, so if this happens, for instance, that might be just a disaster for white, because his king is very, very weak. Like black threatens like bishop d4, bishop f3 in some order. Yes, it looks good for Oparin, this one.
All right, and I believe we've actually just had 2 big results. The Hans Niemann game actually did end in a draw. We can real quick just make sure they repeated for a
bishop
third time. There it is.
Bishop
this game
c3.
is over. 5 draws in a row for Hans Niemann. And I believe we may have a result in another game.
In the big group, you know.
Let's look at the Akshat game. I believe maybe he has just scored a major win.
In the B group, yes, we do have a result. So Mikaelyan lost with black.
All right, so we haven't seen this one, so we can just start
we
right at the beginning.
We haven't seen B group all too many. Italian.
Yep. Are we going to get another Gioco piano?
Yes, with some transpositions. Well, I'm so upset that nobody's interested in playing all those knight g5s nowadays.
Every club player wants to see knight g5.
d3, bishop c5, c3 castles, bishop g5. That's something that Kadric would have done. Bishop e7. Yeah, I think it's exactly his game.
Okay.
So
they're following some
against
theory.
possibly Mikaelyan.
Okay.
From round 1. Knight e2, d6, a4. G3. G3 is a funny move.
That is funny because there's always G5.
Yeah, it looks like there is G5, but I suspect G5, knight G5, and white captures. And yeah, like if you take this guy, maybe just G takes H and rook G1 is unstoppable, right? Yeah. Among other things.
Because it's just kind of a striking move to see, though, but maybe it all works out.
Yeah. Anyway, black decided not to play g5, knight f6 back, then white's bishop is kind of in danger, so he does trade on f6, bishop f6, h4. Very straightforward. Knight e7, knight to h2, d5 just keeps it here. Queen f3, castle short. Yeah. Well, when I said he's very straightforward, to be honest, and knowing that he won quite quick, I was expecting some g4, g5 stuff.
Yeah, just some sort of attack. But
no, not really. Castles. And so far, everything is fine for black. f to d1, knight to f1. Yes, that's purely positional play. And d4 wasn't that good. d4 wasn't that good because it turns out white goes queen h5, and it's really awkward to protect this guy. Knight g6 obviously runs into queen g6, and the f7 pawn is pinned, right? So that'd be the most comfortable move. Like,
sure,
okay,
you want to get
this
the
knight
out of
left
the way,
from
but you just can't do it.
Left from c6, so probably you are going to g6, but you can't now. So queen e8, knight f3, trade here, king h7, queen f7. What was king h7? King h7 it actually says like a terrible blunder.
Yeah.
So I'm not even sure what does that mean.
He just voluntarily gives up a pawn.
Yeah, possibly. No, he wasn't even in a time trouble.
Yeah, so
he just gave the pawn for good. Knight e3, b5, and later on, okay, I mean, white's pawn up.
Is this desperation, or what? Is it that bad already, or I don't understand.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was, in fact, well, okay, dc3 wasn't that great. D takes c3 wasn't that great, but paired with king h7 was just a terrible idea for whatever reason. Yeah, okay, white was perhaps kind of threatening to take on e5, which you can hardly stop.
Okay.
But yeah, but not this pawn, not the f7 pawn, because this happened to be an easy, really easy task to convert this one.
Okay.
But at the moment that it's one pawn, just a reminder, computer says it's +4, so that's a lot. So that means you're losing losing more material simply. King to e4, I mean, and all the pleasant moves you can play with white. You can go f4 and yeah, it's interesting, and very often, I mean, it's peculiar situation that we teach the beginners, once again, rooks to the open files, do not rush when you are converting the advantage and stuff like that. And usually, if you can do it yourself in a game, right, on say, high level, that means that your opponent was playing badly. Yeah. Because if he puts up a good fight, you do not really have the luxury of, like, say, centralizing slowly and then
usually.
Usually it's a mess. It's a mess. You have to calculate some precise lines, otherwise he'll escape.
Absolutely.
Right? And here, like, if white plays all the comfortable moves, that probably means that black done something wrong, and it was proven quite fast. Yeah, he went king h8 and just resigned, as far as I understand, because it was, I don't know, disgust with his position.
Wonderful. So congratulations to Akshat Chandra. We are hoping to get an interview with him. If we do have it, we will bring it to you. But until then, we can continue taking a look around and seeing what else is going on. Yeah,
what's going on in the B group, at least kind of to update on the current positions there. So our leader, Raunak, has made the draw, right? Then we have... he's followed by Christopher Yu and Lenderman.
Let's see what's going on there.
Let's see what Chris is doing.
Ooh.
Okay, so it was.
This could be a fun one.
A funny opening sequence, and Kadric, he kind of has his own opening ideas.
That's nice. It's nice when someone has a little bit different style.
Like,
everyone's playing the same stuff.
92, and the trick with 92. The trick with 92. I mean, it does make some. I don't even remember what's the point, but you kind of play it against the group of... Oh, sorry,
sell me on 92.
Against the knight of guys. You play it against the knight of guys, and for some reason, the belief is that they can't really play the knight of... Okay, at least that's what I've heard. So this is, for instance, already not a knight of, that's Richter-Hauser, right? Which perhaps...
Yeah, this can get fun.
Which perhaps Christopher was fine playing.
This definitely has a lot of potential here.
Yeah, like bishop b5 is not a theoretical move, at least not for me.
Okay.
Said Miro to discover that Giri, Kamsky, Matlakov, Fedoseev 2 times, and a few other people disagree with me.
Okay, so not
yeah,
like
so
the main
it is
line,
a theoretical move, but not the main line. Yeah, okay, so
sure.
Queen d2 is still much more popular. But bishop b5 exists, yes. Queen to d3, that's the point. Okay, he wants the queen on d3. Castles, h6, bishop h4, castles, takes on c6, and knight b3. So just like that, get rid of the bishop, let your opponent to build strong center. I mean, that's how you play chess. And turns out it's not a bad idea, perhaps, because strangely, yeah, I've been a victim of such illusions that black has a strong center. I did play Richter-Hauser myself. Strangely, you would prefer to have the C file open.
Yeah, that's more typical for these
strangely, like the B file does not generate you enough counterplay. I mean, at least in this kind of structures. So E5, bishop F6, and in order not to drop, it's also kind of very concrete, right? Because D6 pawn, what do you do about it? You could try knight E8, but it exchanges the bishops. The knight's ugly on E8, so you don't want to do it. G5 is not a move, right?
Sure,
D5 perhaps is the most sane of all the attempts, but then I reckon E5 and
still puts your knight on the bad square.
Yeah, like knight G4 perhaps just doesn't work, or does it? Oh well, it actually could, now that I'm thinking. So my original idea was to declare, yeah, probably it is very clever. Queen G3, almost missed Queen G5, but F4 is there. Yeah, okay. So this one also doesn't work. And white is threatening to take and to take, or force you to take with the G pawn. So that's what happened.
All right.
Christopher, however, is not that impressed. It seems he has 2 bishops, ever heard of. Rook b8, sacrifices the pawn, queen a5.
Look at that.
But yeah, okay. So now he does have some counterplay on the b file, simply because the knight on b3, which used to shield to block the king, now is gone. Rook to b4, rook f to b8, but still white's up a pawn. White potentially, like if you trade pieces, of course, that be close to a winning endgame with the knight on e4 against the bishop, even with even number of pawns. Rook e1, rook f4. So basically, black plays for initiative, for counterplay, and okay, check, traded, rook d1, bishop b6. So bishop comes to life, perhaps here, and eventually might end up being on d4. Queen h3, king e7. That's what we have.
All right. So you like the pawn here. I mean, I'm seeing some dark squares. I feel like I'd be really scared.
Yeah, could be, because king on e7. So once again, stuff that I've learned from playing the Richter router, there are bad things and good things about black's position. So king on e7, in fact, very often is extremely safe. Very often it is extremely safe. And you're right, Jonathan. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I'm playing, because f2 is hanging. Now I'm honestly not so sure about all this queen h3 thing. Yeah. Because like taking on h6, that is not a lot. Yeah, rook d3 is what he does, but then I have to say rook takes f2. How about back rank?
Absolutely.
So probably that. No, I wanted to say that's the plan, but it cannot be the plan. It's a check from e1, and then the knight is gone. So rook f2 threatens rook f1. Could this be that white's just like really low on time or something?
Yeah, we don't see the times there. We can see them now.
8 minutes each, in fact.
All right. So time is equal. And what move are they on in this one?
That's move 26.
All right, so they got to make 14 moves.
Yeah,
with 7 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, if not finishes, then clarifies for sure. After till move 40, like someone's gonna be winning.
All right, so this one has quite a lot of promise, Christopher. You down a pawn, but potentially a very strong attack. This one is definitely one to keep on the radar.
All right, I just figured that perhaps why he's not kind of snapping this pawn immediately, that e4, despite ugly, might be a very interesting alternative. Because I don't know where the rook goes. Like if you go back, even some stuff like e3, probably really I'll probably still take on f2. I mean, e4 is too committal of a move. But yeah.
Sure, yes, it'll be very interesting to see what Christopher comes up with here.
And what else do we have? We have Lenderman. Lenderman against Harutyunyan, and Alexander Lenderman loves them endgames.
He's so far been showing that he's pretty good at them, so let's see how did he...
Yeah, he has won with bishop against the knight, right? And now it's the opposite, knight against the bishop. This time he's a pawn down, but the structure suggests that it's white still who plays for a win, I would expect. Not sure though, if the king starts running away, not immediately, but at some point, no, not king g6, Miro, the bishop's hanging. So, but this game reached move 40, and
all right,
as per usual.
So that gives us plenty of time to maybe check
like
it
with
the
Alex.
Can we just see how they got here?
With Alex, you can't really expect to finish the game before move 70 or something.
Sure.
I would like to look at this, but we still have one more game which potentially is a time trouble.
What else has your attention?
It's Gergely Kantor against
perfect. Let's see what's going
Brandon Jacobson. So here it's move 23 only. So that's why I'm interested, because both of those guys,
it says 2 minutes.
Both of those guys, they are very often like in a time trouble by move 20.
Yes, we got 2 time trouble addicts.
So this one move 23. Which is like an endgame straight from the opening, and the opening itself is funny. So basically, Jacobson says, "Well, I ignore the opening. I'll just play develop the pieces." That was called modern defense, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, knight to f6, castles, bishop h6, c5. White also kind of plays it straightforward. Trades here, trades the queen.
They found it. The queen trade.
Goes e5, goes e6, but
this is very
kind of aggressive.
Though,
F takes and castles long, also pins, ties down black's pieces. Knight to c6, knight g5, and makes it awkward for black to guard e6 pawn. Bishop c4, so white apparently wins the pawn back, just like this. b5, bishop to d5, yes, and then too many things hanging. Knight b6.
Hasn't got
Rook
that pawn
a7,
back yet.
yeah,
It's coming any second now. There it is.
Takes. Okay, so now the material is equal. White felt like white was much more active, but now look, I mean, the rook can, if needed, can come back to the game. It's the knight perhaps which is the problem. Well, knight f7, rook e3 is already on the board. Well, maybe the knight is not such a problem after all. Knight d6 to f5. Yeah, it's complicated. It's balanced, I believe. Must be balanced, but yeah, white's very low on time. So the only game that we actually do have the queens is Christopher Yu's game. Right?
All right, and that's definitely one to keep an eye on as we kind of go through this. This one has the most potential for some really brutal attack.
Yeah, shall we switch to the A group again?
Yeah, let's check it out.
To find out what goes on apart from this draw in Niemann's game. So far in the A group, 2 draws. Hans Niemann with black against Nijat Abasov and Van Nguyen against Vidit Gujrathi. And we are worried for Twitch channel
tough
resident,
for our very own Illia Nyzhnyk. What has happened in this one?
Yeah, let's see. So yeah, after he started to prepare like this knight b8 thing, yeah, white went rook b1, targeted the pawn, b6, knight e7. Yeah, he couldn't find anything better but to go knight b8. And that this is sad. Rook e1, king h7, king g2, g6. Yeah, well, but he plays like a machine.
Yeah.
h5.
If they play all the best moves, they kind of win.
Yeah,
g4. Interesting.
I'm not sure if it's like the best, but that's very, you know, well, it has its point in a way, right? The black stuck with all the stuff on the king side, on the queen side. So why don't you try to attack even with the such limited?
This is such a cool idea, though.
Yeah, with such a limited
breakthrough is really nice.
Such a limited material you have. Knight f5, king to g6, knight g3. And well, Illia goes with f6. What's f6 for? Yeah. So he wants to play, say, knight d7, but then white apparently goes with a check, and the check and forces the king here, and then even like takes. Takes.
Okay.
So that's still quite annoying.
Yeah.
Right?
If you have to play f6, it doesn't feel very good.
Yeah. f6 is an annoying move.
All right.
So, but what's the plan now? Knight d7 anyway. Like I was thinking, rook h8 to pin black down. No, knight d7 still kind of fights there. Could it be no? c4. I mean, if you are like speculating on this,
we did an amazing breakthrough on the other side. Let's switch over to the queen side.
The knight d7, d5. Okay, that was the dream position I had in mind, but it obviously doesn't work.
Trying to win all the awards, the breakthrough awards.
There should be something. Yeah, it's just that, I mean, to highlight what's the point of me getting rid of the c pawn. I mean, it shouldn't work, but the idea is still there. The idea is still there.
I mean, Ilya's a pawn up, though. If you got to find something here with white. I'm sure white's doing great, but
yeah, right.
You got to be kind of precise here with how you continue.
Well,
okay. You can disagree.
So perhaps it's just no. The pawn up is definitely. Yeah, I had to double check myself so that I do count them correctly because I actually thought the material was equal. So.
Ilya's good. He's up a pawn.
So a check and knight f5 to 4. This could be something. But once again, since he played f6, he probably calculated it.
Sure.
Like I'm at least not lost for for the next few moves. Maybe still knight d7. It does look scary. I agree. Yeah. Check. Knight king e6. Yeah, like king e8 is. Yeah. Perhaps it's just lost, right? And knight g7. You actually go back now. No, I don't know.
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
It's definitely hard to work.
He's still fighting. Yeah, he's still fighting.
So, anything can still happen here in this one. So this is obviously one that has our attention as well to see what happens here.
Right. Chad said, but I'm sorry to remain with this game, but after a check, Chad actually says king g7, and this is much more precise because, it is awkward, but you have to go to g8 not to let the rook on the 7th rank. And I don't know, I mean, it still wins the pawn. Yeah, okay, we'll see. Usually chat is much stronger than the commentators.
They're very good.
I mean,
Yeah.
The kind of collective...
There's so many more of them than us.
Collective IQ of 9,000, yeah, is a known meme. Yeah, so that's it. Oparin, just quickly we'll check Theodorou and Oparin, what goes on here. The bishops or a rook and knight.
This one was also interesting, because the two bishops were very scary. But
and that's one of the few where we didn't check, the position from the start. But now Theodorou having 1 minute, I'm not sure if we have the luxury of
we
kind
can
of checking the opening.
See. We'll hopefully get a couple moves here pretty quick. But
so what
exactly is happening?
What he was doing, he went knight d6, and then Oparin, interestingly, he went with the bishop d4 first.
Sure.
And after king f1, he goes rook f8.
All right.
So targets the knight goes back, but then why did he give a check? Now you can't really go to d2. Well, you wouldn't be able to go to d2 anyway, right? Knight controls it. Now bishop f3 perhaps, yeah? Bishop f3 looks like maybe not bad, or even, maybe just push the guy, yeah.
F5 also looks very possible.
Yeah, because like 7th rank with such a bishop, you don't really. You're not scared.
You're not quite as scared as you would maybe otherwise be.
You're not scared.
Huh.
All right. I mean, lot of possibilities.
Yeah, with 1 minute, this is very tough to kind of work out everything here.
Yeah. So if Oparin kind of takes a practical approach, he probably stops here, like calculates a few moves in advance, and it goes with the sequence.
So this is your strategy when the opponent is.
I'll move, and then I move again. Yeah, because like when you're on real time trouble 1 minute, so you probably first things first, you try to kind of attach each of your next moves to the move the opponent makes.
Absolutely.
So he'll play, say, f5, I'll quickly go knight f2, right? He'll play rook e8, I'll go rook e1, whatever, which is a terrible move. And then imagine the sequence goes like, I play, you play, I play again. And then that's a bit of a
puts you under a lot of pressure. It's kind of an interesting psychology, because I know for a lot of players, it's like you see your opponent is on 1 minute, you want to blitz all of your moves.
All right.
But as someone that's been on the opposite side, it always feels like the longer they think, the more kind of torturous it is. And
because
you get hit with a flurry of good
look
moves.
for girls. I mean, what is he, like, is he calculating some sort of forced checkmate or something? Well, Black didn't play this silly,
this was our analysis.
f5. He actually went with rook d5.
Okay.
So he wants this rook to attack along the 5th rank, and he says, I don't care about the back rank because king h7 is available, and rook very conveniently guards the g5 square, so won't be any checks.
All right.
So now's the moment. 30 seconds for Nikolas. And usually that's the moment when you actually do silly stuff, because you still can't calculate it all. You do have a check available, which I would bet improves Black's position, right? Because you had the rook on the 7th rank, and now you have it on 8th, and the king kind of gets closer to the action, and Black is perhaps never in danger with this king. But it's so easy to give this check. I mean, just get one move closer to the time control.
What move are we on now?
32. He actually did
so 8
not
more
give.
Moves to go.
He did not give this check. He went knight f2. I suspect the whole idea is that Black goes. Black's idea that is that Black can pin this knight and.
So I guess
you actually do have alternatives, not that I'm thinking, because you could try to play for technical, like give a check and collect like some dudes like on a2, on h2, but here you can never be sure. I think still like 2 bishops, especially with your opponent in the time trouble.
You want to keep him on.
Yeah, you want him to blunder a rook.
Absolutely.
You want him to blunder a rook to a diagonal check.
It's so easy.
That's the ultimate goal for this game. Yeah, that's the one. However, as chat kind of agrees with me, like you take over there, you give a check, you can take a2, and f7 survives, which is important. So white doesn't have this check, and if he doubles, bishop goes to e6, like in my line was it the exchange.
Very solid for
so
Black
quite possibly Black wins even there, but you probably just want to finish the game in a few more moves.
All right, so we'll see if Oparin is able to continue putting pressure on his opponent, who is in time trouble.
Yeah, so we checked Nyzhnyk, we checked Theodorou and Oparin, and Hakobyan with Ganguly. Ah, that's the one with the queens on the board.
Yeah,
That's the good one. Queen to c1, and yeah, we've seen it briefly and then left somewhere else, right? So rook to b7, rook takes c6, yeah, indeed, and well, some threats here.
Sure.
Queen a3, wait a sec. Is he planning to like go to e7 after the check? Because this is a checkmate in 3 if I've ever seen one. I mean, if king goes to g7, so it's either block on e8, which is awkward. So probably he was playing king e7, honestly.
Okay, we saw in the Christopher Yu game that was a safe square, but this is a little bit different.
That's a different, right? So White just played h3. I suspect, yeah, like they've probably calculated everything, but if anything, I would have given a check. To be perfectly honest, I would have given a check then. I mean, if you want to play h3, play h3. The rook perhaps doesn't do much on the 6th rank, I would guess. Like, it's not that you're planning to take the pawn or anything. Queen h6 check, queen to g5 still feels like White is getting there. Oops, sorry. Yeah, well,
okay, so that's interesting. So he's sacrificing the bishop, but
yeah, so gave a check, went to g5. So now rook takes c2, rook takes f6 happen. Knight f6, queen f6, I presume, is like really bad. Queen h8's the threat, queen e5's the threat, right? Or at least, oh wait a sec, what? Ah no, what am I saying? What queen f6? Queen e5, wake up, Miro. Queen e5 was the check, king f8, queen b8 was the check. I mean, he was just, planning to take everything with the check.
Sure.
End up with like a few pawns. Queen e7, this is a cool trick.
Yeah, this is very nice.
Point being, I don't know what's the point, and that's why I call it cool, because I believe Hakobyan, who came up with this move. Is it though good though? I'm just trying to figure out what's going on, right, because it could be that he blundered queen e7 as the reply at first place. Could be that he blundered queen e7 as the reply, and then the rook's hanging. You can't really move the rook away, so he might have been, kind of bail out, which doesn't look that terrible for White anyway. Yeah, king has to take. With king takes, it's same thing. Queen e5 check, and then rook gone with the check. So you have to take with the king and some sort of knight f3 perhaps with knight e5 threat. But that's an awkward peanut there. You can actually try to go with queen g4 and then take a6, but then black is not that worried. Yeah, at least I don't see how White wins immediately.
Okay, so maybe...
Don't see how
we'll be continuing here for a little bit.
Knight f3 is what he has done. Move 34, 5 minutes for White, 3 minutes for Black. So, just to be sure, it's in Black's favor, and quite heavily, like up to -2.
All right, so Black is maybe
reminding me myself. Yeah, I was teaching the kids, and said, I've said literally that rook is 5 pawns and the knight is 3. So that, like, okay, the pawn is probably gone in some variation. That makes it +2 for Black, right?
Absolutely. So
okay, so that's it. Illia, we'll go to back to Illia real quick. They kind of did make it till move 38. So 2 more moves to play, and not such trouble, and a huge improvement. The knight from b8 returned back to a6.
Ilya's off a pawn. He's getting his stuff out.
All right, the pawn is gone. If we are perfectly, but still, maybe alive somehow. The knight's still stuck though. And I've seen someone in the chat mentioning earlier that knight to h5 was very strong. Apparently here after king g7, the line that we were
knight h5.
Looking at. For some reason, like, computer really liked knight h5 over knight f5.
Okay.
But what happened in our game, still looks like much better for White.
Do you think Ilya's going to weasel his way out of this one? Like we saw much earlier that it was something like even +2 or whatever.
Even the previous game, he was also in trouble at some point. Yeah, he could.
I don't know if you cheated here or not, but is it? Do you know?
Yeah, let's see.
I don't want to cheat. Don't do it. Don't do it. I want to try to figure this one out. So it feels like Ilya's kind of wiggling his way out of this one. He's up a pawn. His main problem with the knight.
The pawn was taken on g4. Let me count. I'd say, yeah.
I'm not actually counting him. It just feels like, come on,
he
he's
just-
getting
yeah,
out of it.
he
He
just-
gave
just
it up.
captured,
Ah,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
all right.
Then that's once again, I go about this, and I never count pawns to be honest, but
Yeah.
we figured out it was
Counting
he was
pawns
up
is
a
for
pawn.
noobs.
He was up a pawn, and then I just paid attention. The last move, the pawn was captured, so apparently now it has to be equal, right?
All right.
All right. So white does.
And if things are equal, then it's not necessarily that black has, survived yet. But
yeah. Sorry, that's just randomly. Anyway, king of 7.
All right, so
Hans,
this is where
Hans
they are.
has all draws. Yes, that's correct.
yes, 5
That's
draws for
correct.
Hans Niemann so far.
The U game is crazy, by the way.
Yeah, come on. We got to get back to this Christopher Yu game. This is where our most action
let
was.
Let me see. That's the one. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So
Look
pawn
at
was
this. Come
taken.
on.
Pawn was taken, queen h4, a check, and bishop c5.
Oh, those dark squares.
Yeah, and I believe white was ready to just snap on d4 if
Yeah.
bishop d4 would have been played, so he is trying for
He's
bishop
coming
a3.
in.
Oh, queen a3, knight a4, bishop f2 now. Queen e4, queen
Oh,
e1.
let me in there.
Okay.
This
and
is
now,
scary.
I don't know what kind of endgame that would have been, but this is not an endgame. Kadric captures on c6, and then the king goes forward, and the king goes forward. And
Yeah, but where's is it?
does queen c2 just win, pardon me? Yeah, it probably does. Probably does.
Oh, man.
Yeah, because if you block with the knight, rook f4, and still the rook is gone, correct? Or, I mean, yeah, it's hard,
Yeah.
It's hard because this, for instance, all of a sudden works for white perfectly.
Right. These are the kinds of positions where it's really easy. One little inaccuracy, your opponent just takes full force over of the position.
Yeah, that's.
But things can really go
The
out of
feeling is that
control.
black supposed to be winning, right? So black's supposed to be winning. Rook blocking with the rook, yeah, then just take it. So the important part is, as I blocks with the rook, bishop c3, that as long as there is no rook on the file,
Then the
you
king
can
will
just
escape the
walk
other way.
back to g7, and there is like no connection. Say there is no f pawn. It might have been some queen c8, queen g4. Sometimes there are.
There's a loose rook. You want to somehow check and win the rook. There's nothing there.
But nothing there. Yeah, like, the king's on
King
g7.
is just
It's
gonna
fairly
escape.
safe. Right. So he actually does play rook c3. So that means black is winning. He still has to reach the time control.
So this
thing.
was played. Okay.
But what does it mean? It means, well, he is getting close. He actually equals in points, Christopher
Yeah.
Yu.
He was
If
coming in
wins,
on
he
3 points. This could bring him all the way up to 4.
equals in points.
Raunak Sadhwani started today with 3.5.
Mm-hmm. Made a draw.
He made a draw, so that could bring
Chirila.
Christopher all the way up to the lead in the B group.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. And you love the U interviews. This also is good for you.
Yeah,
if you're excited about the interviews.
Absolutely,
This is good
yeah,
news.
I'm more than happy.
All right. So what else is going on?
What else is
We
going on?
expect to come back here and see
Lenderman,
Christopher's won at some moment.
Is it? Yeah, pardon me. Something's wrong with Lenderman's game because it says his opponent's got like 7 seconds left.
So these are not exactly accurate. So sometimes you'll see it go to 0 because it's
Well, yeah, but
every single move there is a little bit of delay between the actual sensor. So he doesn't mean that he flagged right here, but it does mean he's very low on time.
Yeah, but that's b42, so I get it, Jonathan.
So they made it.
I get it,
control.
Jonathan. So it's basically 2 possible clock setups, right?
Sure.
One is like you've made move 40,
Sure.
basically the clock, the board counts for you and adds 30 minutes immediately as soon as 40 is moved being made. And the other one, and I actually personally found it much trickier one.
Yes, it definitely
when
is.
you are not informed. So it's your task, you keep the score sheet and so on. And when you are flagged, it will do one of the 2 things. Either it will signal that you've lost on time, or if 40 moves are made, it will actually add 30 minutes.
So you've seen
but
there's
you're
been a
kind
lot
of
of
on your
mistakes
own.
made right there.
You're
at
kind of
move
on your
40.
own. And then, very often people would make a mistake on move 41, 42, just to be sure.
Right, you always want to make that extra move just to make sure that you got the time. And a lot of mistakes are made right there. So,
Yeah.
but it looks like no mistake was made here.
All right. Is there something? Yeah, we didn't check some opening somewhere, but by that point I'm kind of forgetting which one it was.
Is there anything still going on in the A section?
Yeah, A section. Let's find out. Well, everything's going on, right? So 2 draws that we've already had. Yangyi against Nyzhnyk. That's the position where you just played knight h5, which was his move 40.
Okay.
So still.
So Ilya still needs to make a move here, but he's got 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, plenty of time.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting why knight h5 is so strong, because rook g7, you'll probably end up like going to e6, f5, right, and then knight f4. You can go back after, say, okay, you're not in check, sorry, something like that. I just want to illustrate. So check here, king f8, bishop h6. You probably shouldn't play king f8, you should play king e8 immediately. But what I mean is something like this going to happen. So knight goes to h5, f4, e6, or g6.
I thought you were going to take the f-pawn because there's some winning the rook in the corner.
Yeah, that's even much stronger, in fact. Yeah, check, rook's gone. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, all sorts of tactics might happen if you go back.
Yeah, so he actually is in trouble, indeed. Last move to make for Illia Nyzhnyk. Let's check the other 2 games. Hakobyan with Ganguly. Oh, stuff happens there.
Okay.
Knight to f3.
Did the tactic happen?
King e8. That's a very relaxed move, I have to say. I'm just going back casually. Knight e5, but okay. So they are exercising like in tactics, and Hakobyan perhaps just
taking
missed,
advantage of the
just
pin
missed this
way.
one. Yeah, so that's the pin. Pin is a powerful thingy. Knight g4 and h7, h6, and even like overloading the queen. Yeah, like
as many times as possible.
Yeah, that's a nice play. Queen h6. I don't know. Wow.
Counter trick. The tricks are not over yet.
Wait a second.
Oh, who's tricking who?
Who's tricking whom? And they're both very low on time, I suspect. So that's why, like, you find h6, you're happy to play.
Yeah. You
just
think
to play
you got
a
him,
move.
and they just take it.
Yeah, just to play the move. Yeah, Ganguly. He probably was better off not playing. Now that I'm looking at it, yeah, he was better off not playing h6. Okay, so capturing here means
so this is
white goes with
at least
check.
the point that you have this check here.
And then I don't know, king d7, a check, and some king e6. Or where's the safe square? Yeah, maybe king e6 to attack the knight. And what's the material? A pawn, 2 pawns for the exchange, which
still dangerous.
White would have lost the endgame, of course, because too many, kind of separate pawns and pawns on both wings of the board. They usually, the knights are not very good in this case, right? So you'd rather prefer the bishop. But why? Black king is still weak, right? Black king is still weak. It's still kind of queens are on the board.
Sure.
So
which king is weaker here?
I'd say black's, because there is knight g4 and a check on this diagonal. I can play e5.
e5, which is important. Okay.
Yeah, well, perhaps black is not forced to kind of lose.
Sure. And I'm hearing that we'll have to take a quick pause here because we have some exciting news in the Christopher Yu game. Let's see what happened there.
Yeah, what happened?
Christopher was on the attack in that game.
He just won his game against Denis Kadric. So after rook c3, he actually finds a brilliant bishop takes rook move.
Yep.
And after
now letting the king run the way that we thought.
After a few checks,
but he escapes.
The king runs away.
All right, so at some moment the king does escape.
Yeah, knight c3, and black has won. Apparently lost on time. No, didn't lose on time.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right. Is this the last move of the game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Knight c3. So we have the result. We have knight c3.
So we're saying white played knight c3 and then resigned?
I mean, it could be. It's not a fun position to play. I mean,
sure,
it's a check and like, takes f5. King is safe. A bunch of, not a bunch of extra material. It's an exchange, but there'll be more because everything's falling. Maybe he just resigned.
Huh. All right. Well, congratulations to Christopher Yu for this win. That will bring him up to tied for first in the B group. So that is huge news for our tournament results.
So might as well have an interview with him, right?
If we do get that interview, which we are working on, it will be coming, we will bring it to you as soon as we have it ready.
Okay. Over here, Hakobyan with Ganguly. I've managed to guess the moves up to king e6.
Okay.
And that happens to be move 40 for both players.
Okay, so we expect they'll be.
Now we're gonna
They'll figure this out from here and play the rest of the
exhale a
game.
little, yeah, and see what's around. And I'm still somewhat worried about Lenderman's. Ah, no, that's the big group. Then I'll check it later. The Lenderman's position, which didn't change for a good half an hour. Or 40,
Sure,
40
yeah, not
minutes,
expecting much
yeah.
to ever happen there, but
Yeah.
the Illia game maybe.
Yeah, the
was,
Illia game
was interesting to
so
see.
knight h5, bishop c7 is what has happened.
Okay.
And yeah, okay, so he guards the f4 square, but a check.
All right.
I suspect some naughty stuff like rook h7 threatening. I don't know if
Is
it
this-
threatens. No, no,
yeah.
it probably is not a big threat. What could be the move here for white? I understand the knight is still like terrible.
Yeah.
The knight's still terrible. there is no straightforward way. Not at least the one
It
that I
definitely
can
seems
see.
like, you know, you put it on a computer, it's going to be like, oh yeah, you're just getting kind of crushed here, but like, where is it? And in real life,
yeah,
it's not so easy.
So king e6. I mean, just to confirm on this one, it's not so much. It's not so much.
what's
Plus 1.5, which is
normally that's
yeah,
pretty serious, but
yeah,
if it's not
a
so straightforward,
huge, you know, it's a huge positional advantage. But I mean, if black would be dropping some material, it would
yeah,
be
it would
like
make a
plus
lot
3,
more
plus
sense.
4,
Yeah.
right?
Huh. I don't know. I still got a lot of confidence in Ilya
Yeah,
hanging in there.
might
So we definitely have our eye
might
on
still
this game.
hold. Yeah, might still hold. Boo, 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 boo. And what else? What else?
All right. So we're still hanging on. We're waiting to see what happens in the Ilya game. Christopher Yu, of course, has won his game. Just kind of cycling around. Let's see.
Right, Kantor with Jacobson.
Okay, yeah.
These guys reached move 40. I mean, just
Okay.
look. I mean, is it some kind of position for a study?
Right. I know what the
with
heck's happening
random
here.
pieces on the board. But what's the task? Do we?
Yeah.
Do we have to win or
Wait to
make
play
a
a win,
draw?
wait to draw. What the heck is going on here?
And a few moves ago, okay, maybe some moves ago, it actually kind of did look relatively normal.
Sure, yeah.
So how does the king get all the way to like d4 or
Sandwiched
something?
in the middle.
Yeah, well, if it
D4.
feels like these guys, they kind of
D4,
operate
C4.
on different trajectories, their pieces. Like,
Yes.
you know, maybe some different move rules apply. Check, knight d4. And yeah, it's so, and to me it always was hard to play against such kind of players. Like, you attack his piece, he kind of counterattacks something, and all
you
the
see
time, all the time.
Which I guess means that's a relatively good strategy to try
Knight
to
f5,
take something away from.
Knight takes b5 because you cannot take. These are
very
both
nice.
like this, right?
Oh, the
These
tricky
guys.
knights.
Yeah, rook b7, knight to c3, knight d4, knight to a4. So white, in fact, like kind of gotten a lot of extra material. But yeah, okay, unpins, rook
Self-pins,
f7, knight
unpins.
d1. Knight d1 is a little bit.
Okay, we can see how
No,
the
I think
king
he
started to march up into the board.
I kind of lost track entirely, I'm guessing. Rook b1, knight to
Okay.
e5.
Okay.
Okay, what's going on? The point being, yeah, rook
Yeah,
takes.
if I call the bluff and take
He
it.
was planning to go knight d3, a check, win the knight, and if you try to
King can't
guard it,
protect
it's rook
it.
e5.
Ah, checkmate.
It's rook e5, yeah. All right, and black just went just went knight d3 himself. Because white king, if you think of it, okay, it does have squares, but not that many.
Absolutely.
So who
Yeah,
checkmates
yeah.
home?
Ha ha ha.
Ha ha.
And you also have the task of saving your knight.
Yeah. So it kind of does work. Yeah. No, that's a crazily sharp position, and especially like on move 40.
Yeah, they're playing for maximum competition, complications, even with very low time.
yeah.
So, wow, I mean, it's, I don't know.
Knight to d3 is quite a threat for Gergely. So can he actually play knight d3? That'd be
All right, you
that'd
play
be
for
a serious
checkmate.
question. Yeah. Well,
Checkmate, serious
a
stuff.
threat of checkmate in one, and simply moving the bishop doesn't really help because it's a check followed by king d4.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Black can try to take the knight at the end of this line, but white is 2 pawns up, right?
What's your line?
Still might be chances. I mean, I'd say go to b5, check here.
take, and then we're swapping.
Takes, yeah, we give a check, king somewhere backwards, and we have to guard the knight. Yeah, maybe black still has chances, like d2.
Sure.
They take the knight, take one of the pawns back. Yeah, maybe it's not that hopeful, not that hopeless. Not that hopeless, this one. And once again,
so it might be a while before we actually get a move in this game. But
yeah, absolutely. But that's the case with all of the games, interestingly. Lenderman,
sure,
it did update.
Okay.
But yeah, but they've probably reached this move 40 long time ago. Now I'm thinking, because they are feeding us with one move in 20 minutes.
But I mean, it looks like, is White making a lot of progress here? Weren't the kings? Has the king moved up the board quite a lot here?
Nah.
It's all the same.
Yeah, but when we tuned in, I believe we had like the position with knight on e3 already. Like this one, the bishop was hanging. So we are 1 hour into the show, like more than 1 hour.
Well, White's doing great. He got the king to go back. Look, the black king went back. White's doing great.
They've played like 3 moves. Yeah, okay, yeah. White does kind of doing. White's not doing that bad, right?
There's a pawn hanging.
Yeah, maybe e5, but then you probably don't win, right? e5 f6, he'll trade one more pawn. But other than that, I'm even a little bit scared, maybe for no particular reason, but if the king gets to d6, let's say, and knight, I don't know. I have a feeling that Lenderman's going to win it, simply because he's Lenderman. He plays endgames well.
This is what he lives for, so this is always treated him very well. We'll see if he has what it takes to come up with something here and win this game.
Yeah, but that'll be the longest game of the round, almost for sure. And for the A group, so we do have some development here. Rook g7, king a. The one we've seen. Yeah, sorry, this one we've seen. That's move 41, but means they've passed the time control. Hakobyan with Ganguly.
Okay, exactly
Position
as
after move
predicted.
40, yeah, and Theodorou with Oparin, that's the one. They've also
this one was
made it. Yeah, they've also made the time control.
But here a lot of stuff has happened, right?
Yeah, well, actually, since we are not in rush anymore, I mean, all the time troubles done. Why didn't we check this game?
Yeah,
from,
well, I guess
from,
we
like,
never
from
went.
the
We
early
didn't see how this
from
one
the early
even
stage
began.
because it seems to be at least the resulting position is very interesting, right? So Oparin somewhere has sacrificed an exchange or something. So
another
yet
Catalan.
another Catalan.
Well, this one's an open Catalan. Look at that.
Yeah, so black captures and goes c5.
All right.
Castles there, knight c6. Yeah, that's one interesting option for white. Like, I wouldn't say very promising, but if you don't play the other lines like queen a4 or knight e5, I believe it's already almost refuted by now. So queen a4 is the main alternative. So d takes e5 is.
So you're saying this is a very good way for black to play against the Catalan. Is that the takeaway?
Yeah, white, to be honest, white's options are limited. I mean, if you get to this position, white's options are quite limited. It's queen a4 or d takes e5. D takes e5 leads you to an endgame, which, by the way, you will have to know quite a bit. Because knight d2, c3, that's the line, castles, and then white has 2 moves. One of them was played in the game, it's knight b3, and the other one was used on few occasions by Boris Gelfand. It's to play the knight to e1, which looks ridiculous, but first you get the knight to d3, which does the same thing, bothers the bishop from c5. And the other knight can go to c4, can sometimes go to e4. Okay, anyway, so this endgame still some people enjoy playing. Knight a5, bishop to b4. If I'm not mistaken, bishop d2 was... No, bishop d2, knight c3. Once again, I don't remember a thing. Knight e3, bishop d2, knight c4, e4, d5.
All right.
Okay, so he just went in.
Things are getting serious.
Just went in.
Love it.
Yeah, e takes, and Oparin says, okay.
Calls it.
That's a pawn.
Give that to me.
That's the pawn, yeah. Bishop g4, bishop g5, some tactical fireworks. And once again, fireworks, okay, but what if I take? And white captures on d5.
Sure, with a threat.
And there is at least some logic. So rook is threatened, and if rook b8, I assume some knight e5, knight c6, or what's the... Anyway. Oparin just goes bishop g4.
Okay,
After
sensible.
a 3 sacrifice and exchange, bishop to f6
okay.
intermezzo, very important because otherwise the bishop was hanging. Rook to c1, bishop takes f3, bishop g4, h5, and this is how we've this is how we've gotten there.
Yeah, we saw from this point.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very interesting because I thought these like two bishops, they looked very, very scary at some moment here.
All
But
right.
we'll see
Somehow White
how White
decided
solved everything.
sort of not to fall apart. Rook e7, bishop f3. Still black is obviously better, I believe. As long as the material stays the same, the bishops are on the board. It's very hard to play for White like in a practical game. Rook to e7, and he just creates the passed pawn.
Okay.
There's the current
Very
position
scary.
there. Right.
That's a scary pawn.
Yeah, and look
Look at these bishops.
The bishop does not let you kind of
it's so
put the rook
annoying.
behind the passed pawn.
In the
So-
three
so it actually-
squares. I'm
it
three
actually
squares
walks.
away.
It actually walks to b3 to b2.
Wait, what does White do to stop me? How are you going to stop me? It's not easy.
Yeah, it is.
Is there a way?
It is. Knight to d2. Still b3 is an option.
Yep.
You
It's
can
maybe
make an
the first
argument
thing.
for like more pins, playing bishop c3, just
starting
in,
with
just in
just
case.
push, push is always a good
annoying, yeah,
start,
but
but
b3
might
might
be
just win straight up. b3 might just win.
I'm just pushing.
And if anything, you'll get the chance to disturb White from the other angle, like go h4 at some point. Yep.
Oof.
Feels very promising for Grigoriy Oparin, who is on 50%.
He's doing very well. He's at 2.5 out of 4 so far.
So he's on +1 already. Yeah, so might as well join the leaders or become one of them.
Yeah, if he does win, he will catch up to Vidit in the lead for the top section.
Vidit once again was held for a draw. Yeah, I keep forgetting. So Hakobyan and Ganguly need some time to figure out what has happened during the time trouble.
Yeah, all right. Well, we'll let White try to figure out what to do here. See if he can figure out any solution to all of his problems.
Here it looks like it's a good.
But it's black to move, so he gets the
So
many good options,
Oparin has to decide if it's b3 or not. Yeah,
all right,
I kind of made the move for him b2 b3.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. All right.
So, well, I kind of don't really understand how this chat works on my lap because I see a lot of messages from the YouTube chat.
Yeah.
But Twitch people just send us something in the Twitch chat.
Are you joking? Are you not reading Caramel Cheesecake 332? Saying Vampire Chicken is the most
the Vampire
entertaining
Chicken,
chess streamer / teacher.
Absolutely,
in the land.
but that's, I second that. Yeah,
Excellent.
That's
well, yeah,
true.
good. I'm glad to hear it. So glad to have everybody with us. We are here. We are watching you guys. We're watching the Twitch chat. We're watching the YouTube chat. We appreciate everybody that's been here hanging out with us as we've been going through all of these games. So always a pleasure to be here. Always a pleasure to see all of the very nice people that have been in the chat so far.
And my only disappointment is that Hans Niemann never been interviewed.
Is it personal, do you think? Is he intentionally drawing all of his games? I take it personally.
That's
I'm
the
just
feeling.
saying, I think
That's
it's a
the
personal
feeling.
affront on my personal integrity.
I'm not giving interview to these guys. I mean, anywhere else. Right?
Absolutely.
Anywhere else.
Yeah. So, but anyways, obviously, if Hans ever does win a game here, we will definitely get an interview with him.
We'll
pin him down.
Yeah,
we'll tie him down. We'll do whatever we got to do to get that interview.
So what was... there was some game which was kind of very close to conclusion. Let's, once again, maybe the B group possibly. No, everything that could conclude in the B group has already concluded. So once again, a reminder that Chandra Akshat won against Mikaelyan, and I'll just show the final position. Yeah, remember, that says Black's last move is King H8 and resigns at the same time.
Fair enough.
Then Christopher Yu won against Kadric. We are still hoping to get an interview. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, this.
All right. We do think that we are going to be getting the Christopher Yu interview. We are working on it. We have not forgotten. We are going to bring it to you as soon as we got it.
Yeah. So, and we have 2 games going. One is Lenderman game. So,
which, if you like Christopher Yu interview, they are long. He might still be talking. He might. Maybe it's not done yet.
All right. And then Gergely Kantor against Brandon Jacobson. Here,
Yeah, this
White
one was
just
very
played
clever
knight
too.
d3.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
that was maybe like not coming to the conclusion, but still a very
Does this-
funny kind of looking position.
Does this lead to like the same position, I guess? Like at least if rook takes d1, we're going to be doing the same thing. We're
Yeah,
getting
that'll
basically
be a
the same
checkmate,
position, but
yeah.
a different kind of funny way.
There'll be a checkmate. So black, as we figured out, or rather, it was my imagination what black has to do.
You moved the bishop.
Move the bishop to get his
Trying to
skill
run away
for
with the king.
square, which once again might be not the end of the line. Bishop b5 and say white, gives a check, doesn't give a check, but then moves the knight. I mean, I think maybe white's better off like moving the knight from the. Yeah, it's very confusing. Once again, and then knight b4 is another option. Way too many. Way too many.
It's one of those games. Do you, when you personally, I guess this is just a matter of personal preference. Do you like these games where it's, for you personally, it's complicated for both sides, or
everything's hanging? I used to be, honestly, quite good at such things.
Sure.
Like, because now, let's say at the club, when I was asked, like, show some of your
sure, you show your best games. We
kind
got a
of
class
best
for that.
games, and I realized, like, yeah, whenever I'm showing something, it's such a mess, right? So
Right.
even though I did have a reputation of understanding a thing or two about positional chess, right? And all of a sudden,
Sure.
like the best game, it's always a mess
Yeah.
like this. But one thing, when you are playing this, you're familiar with patterns like from early in the game, right? And then they are kind of adding up, but it's somewhat easier to navigate compared to the commentator. Then we are tuning in,
Sure.
and I say like, okay, 8 move candidates for white, and then you have to, I
You know, the players are sitting there being like, "Oh man, I wish I was a commentator right now." Those guys, they can just blunder pieces. Nobody cares.
Yeah,
I'm sure. I think the grass is always greener on that
Absolutely.
one.
Absolutely. No, but that's certainly the benefit of commentator's job.
Sure.
You can suggest a dumb move, look at it, well, not realize that it's dumb, be taught by the chart. And say,
Hang mate one, hang a
you're
queen,
right.
whatever.
You're right with chart.
Yeah.
I'm taking the move back, and let's analyze the other one. So that's a good thing.
All right, so definitely will be interesting to see what they come up with, because every move could also be a surprise. It's very easy to imagine they play something that we didn't even consider or something.
Okay, so we are left with 2 endgames in the B group, but yeah, while Lenderman's is an endgame.
Why are you not showing some love for Lenderman? Okay, this guy's a professional endgame player.
Yeah,
you know, he deserves a lot of respect for this commitment to playing such incredibly hard endgames so frequently.
I believe he does, and once again, it's not impossible that he will win this one by like some tricky tricks. Say King C6, E5. Sorry, I suspect White might be winning.
Major update. We will have the Christopher Yu interview in only 3 minutes. Our producers have been working extremely hard to get us this one, so we know something is good is coming, and just hyping you up for that big Christopher Yu interview. All right, let's continue with this.
Yeah, I'll quickly run away to the A group just to see what happens here.
Yep, this
so
one was
no
moves, right? Literally no moves.
Move from.
No,
there were some. B3 was played and King to D1 was played.
Okay.
Right. Is it
How is
really?
White getting
Is
over
it really
there? How
like
are you gonna
a
stop that
king
pawn?
who stops the pawn? Okay. So one of the possible ways. Okay, one of the possible ways after B3, sorry B2, he could try to go King C2 and then sack in exchange back, take on B2.
Okay, I'm almost with you.
And
All right.
maybe have some chances of surviving.
Okay,
because like if the B2 pawn survives,
it's bad.
I believe
that's bad.
yeah, like you just win with White. Anyway, let's see the other games. And for this, Yangyi Nyzhnyk, right?
right.
Okay. How's
the rook
Illia
is in the
doing?
game now.
King E6, F4, F5. No, he didn't play F5. Sorry, he went rook,
F5. I don't think we thought about.
rook here, and King F3, and then F5. Okay, so does it mean he's holding? Does it mean?
I assume not, but I believe Ilya, you got it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, what White did, like last few moves, it either has, tactical justification or just purely wrong. Because you had a wonderful bishop, you could have, I don't know, at least traded it on f4, and you've played f4, the bishop on e3.
Does he have ideas of coming to another diagonal?
Yeah, could be. Could be, but isn't black just on time with it? Well, maybe that's the point. So rook f7, and you kill like this, and when he takes,
also whenever
you're winning the f5 pawn. But that's like nonsense, no? Like f5 is, I mean, you would expect white to win like half a rook.
Yeah.
And the alternative is not that impressive either. King d7. The knight is stuck, we agree, but other than that, still fighting. So could actually run away with half a point, Illia.
All right, don't worry. That you interview is coming. Don't worry about it. We are working on it. It's hold your seats. It is coming. It's going to be big. I don't know what's happening, but something big with that you interview. Does it? I mean, it honestly feels like. I mean, Ilya's hanging in there.
Yeah, right. So well, I will be. What did I say? Like before that, like 5 moves behind. I said I will be surprised if white won't find something. Now it's the opposite, in fact. Yeah, I understand
you would be surprised if he does find something.
I'd be surprised if there is like straightforward way, right? So well, now that it looks to me like rook g5. I understand rook g5, knight g7. Probably white wins the pawn, but then we can actually recall that he still will have the double pawns, and then the knight's
still got to get into the game at some moment.
Kind of a little bit far away, but we'll see. We'll see.
Right, yeah,
not
very
desperate.
Fascinating to see if black can hold this together here.
Not hopeless yet.
All right, definitely one that we can keep coming back to. This is a very good one.
How is Hans doing?
For those of you just joining, if you haven't seen any of the commentary, don't worry. All you need to know is that Hans has had 5 draws in 5 games that he's played in this tournament so far. So he is at 2.5 out of 5 points.
Righty. Something's missing still. Hakobyan with Ganguly. These guys didn't stop even after the time control. So, well, I called it.
All right, you did say
everything,
up to here.
but not the last move, honestly.
Okay.
King to d5. I mean, you have pieces, you have to activate them, centralize. Yeah, even if it's your own king.
I mean, he's anticipating a check and moving. That's the idea, I suppose. Like he's anticipating a check on f6 with the queen, and he's just getting the king out, or is he running in there? Do you think he's going all the way?
Somewhere around here, funny enough, it could be that the king is safer than anywhere else. Because, look, the knight on g4, it kind of anchors white position together. It guards e5, right? It, guards some squares around the king.
Sure.
So let's say, let's
just
imagine,
the king's
like
on
a2. The king's on a2 or b3, whatever. How do you actually bring the knight to attack this king?
Very true.
Not easy, right? So I'm not saying, he actually didn't play king c4 immediately.
Okay, but maybe it is on the agenda.
The point is like the king is safer than it might seem. Queen f6, he went rook b2 though.
Okay.
So that means a6 can be taken, question mark? Because if, I mean, I'm confused. Jonathan, seriously, I'm confused. I mean, check on e3, what to do? c5 perhaps, because if you go
Don't worry, I know exactly how to get out of this jam. I know how to just get out of this jam. We will trick all of the viewers. Here's how we get them. Here's how we get them. This is it. We have the Christopher Yu interview. After all, I don't know what is happening with this one. They've been telling me all about it in my ear this whole time. This one is going to be huge. Christopher Yu had a big win that tied him up in the B section. So let's go ahead and get his thoughts on his game today.
How it happened.
All right. I'm here again with Christopher Yu, and he is going to take us through his game today against Grandmaster, what's it called?
Denis Kadric.
Yeah. And so we'll let him take control over one of the mice and go for it.
So I wanted to surprise him in the opening. So I played an opening I don't usually play, but also, to my surprise, he seemed to be well prepared, and he surprised me right back with this bishop g5, e6, bishop b5. And this is not really the main line, but it definitely got me confused because I didn't know the theory well. So I was already pretty uncomfortable, but I decided to just develop my pieces. Bishop d7, queen d3, bishop e7, queenside castle h6, bishop h4, castles. Apparently this is all still Siri to my surprise, but I was just making up the moves, and I didn't really know what the Siri was. He still blitzed out until knight b3, and I saw he was threatening e5, so I kind of had to make the ugly decision to go e5 and let him play bishop takes f6, g takes f6, and now my pawn structure just looks terrible. But I don't feel like this position is as bad as it looks. Despite my bishops looking like they're blocked by their own pawns, and my king looks like it's gonna be checkmated in a few moves, he actually can't really get at my king because his pieces aren't quite aiming at it yet. But I still felt a little uncomfortable here. But after knight c4, rook b8, I decided to go for my own attack. I didn't really see anything else to try because my position is positionally it's horrible, but maybe due to my counterplay with my rooks and my queen on his king, it's not that bad. Queen a5. So I was just trying to aim at his king, and hopefully one day something will happen. But I didn't see what was happening. So it was very hopeful thinking, but I didn't see what else to do. So e takes f5, rook b4. I still really didn't see any attack, but I thought that at least I'm scaring him. At least I'm being annoying. Like like it's I don't know. I felt like it was intimidating my rooks along the b file, even though they're not threatening anything. At least I thought he might be confused. And I was definitely also very confused about what was going on and what the evaluation was, because I didn't really see what to do for either side. So it's like a very weird cat and mouse type of position where we're both waiting on each other to do something when we don't see anything to do. So he was like trying to get his pieces in with rook he1, rook f4, king b1. King b1 was a nice move. There's a crazy variation with bishop b4, knight e4, bishop takes e1, knight takes f6, king h8, queen h3, king g7, knight h5, king h7, queen g3. And I was like, freak, I made it here, so I can't go for this. So I went for rook d8, seeing all of this, and I spent like 30 minutes here, burning all my time, trying to make bishop b4 work. And after I saw that it didn't work, I kind of realized I had to settle down for a more tame position. Rook d8, queen g3, king f8. Here I'm thinking he might have been able to just take a draw with queen h3, king g7, queen g3, king f8, queen h3. But he was ambitious and he played rook takes d8, check, bishop takes d8. But all of a sudden, I kind of realized that my position might be good because my bishop is coming to b6 and his pawns are getting attacked. And it, like a few moves ago, I thought that I might be completely losing, and all of a sudden I felt like I might be winning. So it's a huge dramatic turn of events in my head. Like now I started to feel really good, like I'm gonna win this game. Rook d1, bishop b6, queen h3. Now I went king e7 just to prevent queen takes h6 with check. And again, it's like an unfortunate situation where it's hard for him to find a good move. Despite my king looking a little bit weak, he can't really do anything because he doesn't have enough pieces. And somehow his pawn structure looks very weak all of a sudden due to f2 falling and f5 being weak. So here I saw him hovering over his queen, and I saw he was about to place it on the d3 square. But then he realized that it would be a horrible blunder, and as soon as he realized, he shook his head like crazily, and like he almost was like, what am I thinking? Like he was like, he had a huge reaction, and it was quite funny to see because he was about to play queen d3, rook d4, queen f3, queen takes c3. And I was getting so excited, but then I saw him realize it, and I was like, okay, but it's still a good position. But I was hoping to get this after queen takes c3, rook takes d1, king b2, bishop d4. Black wins. Queen h4, I think he played. Now I have to use all my remaining brain cells to remember the rest of the game because I see that there's like a 30-minute delay.
Yeah.
Queen h4. Okay, I'm gonna need to recall. Okay, it was rook f1 check, king b2, bishop c5. So now it's threatening mate. So if he goes into like an endgame, it should be losing because my pawn on e5 is really strong. And his knight on a4 is having trouble really getting into the game. So instead, after bishop c5, he went knight a4, trying to keep the position complicated. I went here, so I was still trying to trade queens. Queen e4, queen e1. And now it's starting to get funny. So he didn't want to trade queens, of course, because it's just a losing endgame. So he wanted to make it complicated. So he was trying to get like a mating attack, a perpetual check, something along those lines. But now his king starts going gung-ho, you know, like it's going to b5, a6, b7. Like he was I saw a look on his face and he was like, maybe I'm back in this game. This is getting interesting, you know. But the problem is after queen takes c2, rook c3, which is what happened, I can apparently just take the rook. And he does not have perpetual check. And at first when I took the rook, the look on his face sort of gave me the sense that he saw he had a perpetual check, and he was like, he looked at me like, what are you doing? Are you allowing me to have a perpetual check? But surprisingly, this is not a perpetual check because my king kind of triangulates out of the way. So he kept checking me, and then my king escaped. And after queen c5, king g7, here I think he like smashed the table and screamed something under his voice,
Yeah.
and said like the F word or something, and it was kind of funny, but it was obviously a bit rough for him. And after this move, he didn't wait for me to even make my move. He just resigned. So.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing it. We were out here and kind of heard a little bit of the feedback from your opponent.
Yeah.
So, but no, congratulations to you. They'll put you in first place right now in your group. Tomorrow you play again, so have fun. I know you probably hang out at the club, but see you then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Christopher Yu, who now is sitting tied at the top of the leaderboard with Raunak Sadhwani. And I think the most fascinating thing about the Christopher Yu interview, he's the only one that's telling us, like, this was the body language. My opponent must have thought this.
Saying that he thought that I'm an idiot, wondering petrol and so on.
And just his opponent literally got so angry, he was smashing the table, he was saying swear words. It's interesting, and I guess that's the only thing that you can get from a Christopher Yu interview. So thank you, Christopher, for the insight. And with that, we're actually going to go ahead and take a look at the standings for the A group. And as you can see, there's a lot of games that are still going on, but for now, we got Vidit at the top of the leaderboard with 3.5. Right below that is Van Nguyen. Hans Niemann, of course, 5 draws equals 2.5 points. We are still waiting to see what is happening in the games between Illia Nyzhnyk, Grigoriy Oparin, Yangyi, Aram Hakobyan, Surya Ganguly, Nikolas Theodorou, but we do know for sure that Nijat Abasov is sitting at 2 points. So a lot is going to change between now and tomorrow, and we will keep you updated as things change. But Miro, can you also let us know what is going on in the B group?
Yeah, in the B group we have 3 results currently. So Alex Lenderman's game is pending. So those 2 that are tied for the first place, Raunak Sadhwani, draw, right, and Christopher Yu, who's
This was
win
the
we
big
just,
news.
Yeah, just analyzed. Yeah, they can be caught up. Alex Lenderman can catch them up with, if he wins. Other than that, Denis Kadric, I understand why he's not happy. Man, he started with 2 out of 2.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
What's going
pushed
on?
back to all the way to 50%. The other very entertaining game that is still going on is Gergely Kantor against Brandon Jacobson.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're going to see what happens with all of these games. But this is the end of our show for today. We saw some pretty exciting things. A lot of unusual games.
That was a lovely
we
day.
got the attacking chess. We got some weird study-like stuff going on. All sorts of fun things. And if you do want to come back and join us tomorrow, make sure that you follow us. We'll be back at 4 p.m. Central Time. Please, again, make sure that you're safe out there. Use the hashtag #FallChessClassic. Watch us live on US Chess Champs. And until then, we will see you for round 6 tomorrow.
This has been a presentation of the St. Louis Chess Club. Any reproduction or distribution of this content without the express written consent of the St. Louis Chess Club is prohibited.